going to college right after high school versus to community college and then transfer?
So I have several friends who are actually going to community college route. Financially, it works out really well. And for a lot of community colleges, they actually have programs where if you go to this college for 2 years, then you're guaranteed admission to another college for 2 years. Yeah, so financially it's a good idea. If you are looking for a guaranteed path to a certain university, then it's also a good idea.
Yeah, like one example I can name is probably Berkeley City College, where I think like if you go 2 years in Berkeley City College, you're almost guaranteed admission into UC Berkeley. It's like at over a 90% rate.
Yeah. And if you're at all like worried about the transition between high school and college, I'd say community college is like a good stepping stone where they're not going to hold your hand as much as they did in high school, but you're also not completely independent, and they'll certainly help you with the process and with academics.
The only negative that might come about going to a community college is that sometimes they're impacted when it comes to enrolling in classes. So it might take you longer to take the classes that you need to transfer, so you might end up staying at the community college longer than you thought you were. That's the case in, I live in Modesto, so Modesto Junior College, you know, some people end up spending like 4 years just doing like a 2-year program. So that's something to think about, just like how impacted is that community college you're going to, but it's definitely not like a bad option. Like I know like at least half of my friends from high school did that option and they transferred to UCs or even private universities. So.
And I think sometimes there's kind of like this negative connotation and stigma with going to community college. I think that community college is the right choice for some people, especially if they don't have like the preparation to go into a 4-year college directly from high school. So maybe you didn't do as well in high school, but you're trying to improve yourself. So you might want to go to a community college to take some classes you took in high school again, improve your grades, and then go on to a 4-year so you're better well prepared. So I think just overall it like depends on like your certain like conditions and what like is the best choice for you.
Yeah. Also about the whole stigma thing, I definitely think that employers nowadays are definitely like seeing this as like not like as an equal option, but like even possibly a better option, because it is a very responsible choice for many people, and I think they would respect that very much.
Yeah, and sometimes for some colleges, when you apply, you have to say what major you're applying for that college. So if you go to community college, you don't need to do that, and then that can make it like easier if you're unsure. One of my close friends back at home, he didn't go through the same application process that I did. He knew that I was going to community college. He had trouble getting classes, which is like very common in a community college. So he ended up taking 3 years and then transferring. But he transferred to UC that he wanted to go to, which turned out well. So he saved a lot of money. But then it also turned out that he came in like as a sophomore or junior, even though he already spent 3 years in community college because like it was hard getting classes. But yeah.
It was mentioned that some school, it was mentioned earlier that some school prefer ACT versus SAT. Did all of you take both tests during that time, or you guys only took one test?
I took both, and they're very similar. Some would say one's easier than the other. They're almost identical. Just take both. They're about the same price, and like for me, I did better on the ACT just because I did, not because like I liked it better. Just like, and then like that's the one I would give to the colleges because it was a better score. So just take both. Yeah, and try to take each twice, just because like statistics show you do better on the same time, just because you know what it's like.
Yeah, and you should study for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people take classes. I just kind of like rented the book from my high school library, like flipped it over a bit, got the kind of general gist. But
yeah, I spent like a lot of one of my summers. I think it was junior year summer or maybe sophomore year, I'm not sure. But yeah, just I had a book and like a practice book that I think was Princeton Review, and then this other book that had like 8 practice tests. So like I spent a lot of time like studying during that summer to make sure that I did well on the SAT. I personally took the SAT twice and the ACT once. Like I took SAT, and I think ACT after, and then I did better on the SAT. So, yeah.
Did any of you guys take subject tests at all? or-
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be like specific to the school you're applying for.
Yeah.
Like Stanford, I think wants you to take like 2, so I took 2. Took like math and biology.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just specific to the school.
Yeah, that was something that I wasn't really organized about, and then I found out like, oh, I need to take it.
That's one thing I wish I knew.
Yeah, that's something that I wish I knew. Like some colleges accept like 1 SAT 2, some of them accept 2, some of them don't accept any. So like that's really random. And I remember taking it like last minute, and signing up to take it last minute, but it was like right after my AP test for that subject. So I was really happy that I did that, like right after I studied for the AP test, so then it was still fresh in my mind, because if I took it a year later, that would be a lot harder.
I took my subject test for AP US History, like for US History, like a year after I'd taken US History. It's like I don't know any of this. but like that, I think since I took 3 subject tests, it's important to realize like if your school like requires 2, you can only send in 2.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can decide which test scores to send in. Like if you did kind of like not that great on one, like you can send in the next one or the next one.
Yeah, that's what I did. I took 3, I only sent in my top 2.
So the one that I think that most colleges almost universally take is like math, the math subject test. Probably the math 2 subject test. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
the math
take
2
the-
one's harder, but
Just
Yeah,
take
it's
yeah.
accepted in
Just
more.
do the math.
yeah, but I think the most advanced skill you need to know is like pre-calculus, right? So I think after you pre-calculus class, you should take it.
I would also recommend you do the language one. So Stanford has a 1-year language requirement, and if you get a certain score on the SAT for, like I took Spanish, you can also test out the language, which might save you in the long run.
I didn't know that, and I haven't taken
Yeah.
year Spanish.
I didn't know that. I'm going to have to take that. Take a language test.
One more thing about SAT versus ACT. So SAT is generally accepted in all colleges, while ACT is accepted in most colleges. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So you would have to look into which college does what.
So the AP courses that you took after that, you take the exams. Does it matter the 3 points versus 5 points, or how is that the colleges looked at?
It really
Yeah.
depends on the college. Like some colleges will accept 3s and give you credit for a certain course. Usually there's like a table if you go to a college website. They're like, this is the list of AP courses that we recognize as equivalent to a college course at our college, and like they'll also list the scores that are needed to get a certain number of credits.
Besides credits, the score can also be very, it can help you out in terms, let's say you got like a C in the class, but you got a 5 in the exam. A lot of times, like, at least at my school, my teachers would go back and change both of my grades to A's if I got a 5.
Oh, really?
And the colleges will also, look at that and say, well,
Yeah.
you know, if this person got an A in the class, but like a 2 on the exam, then maybe they didn't really learn the material, and vice versa, positively, so.
Also, you do not have to report your AP scores until after you get accepted. If you choose to report them, then it's like something that is optional. You can self-report. Although some colleges might require it, I don't think Stanford does. So.
It can help if they're good scores though.
Yeah. So if you
Like
have
it's-
like a 3 and 1 AP exam, like you don't have to send it.
Well, I wish our young participants asked some question or two, but they are hopefully all absorbing.
You can ask anything.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Do you think your ethnicity as a Cambodian played any role into your acceptance into Stanford?
I remember hoping that because I
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be grouped with the rest of the Asians, like because it's especially since Cambodians are quite different. Southeast Asians in general are quite different than like say Chinese people, like in their upbringing, things like that. So I remember like wanting to put that as Cambodian in the other Asian. I think now they have their own option that says Cambodian, but
No,
they don't.
No.
But yeah, I don't know how it works, but I know Stanford's been trying to like look at it differently.
Yeah, I mean, like, just putting Cambodian in line is not going to make you like
Yeah.
everyone, but if it's,
Yeah.
yeah, but if it's like input of your identity, I know, like, I talked a lot about my parents and the struggles they had. They, like, went through escaping the Khmer routes, like, walking minefields
Yeah.
and stuff. That has really played a major part in my identity. So, yeah, I would just talk a lot about, you just have to be, like, honest, and you really, because on these papers, they only get, like, you have, like a couple of pages to show them who you are, so you have to make everyone count, so.
Yeah, but also you shouldn't be banking on like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like this ethnicity. That's like, I hope that
Yeah.
that makes a big difference in like everything. I think it'll be better to like explain like what that ethnicity means to you like in the essays.
I personally didn't like talk about being Cambodian in my essays, but I did put that I was Cambodian, and I really do think that like grabs the attention of the admissions officer just because Cambodian like higher education rates are so low. So they don't just want a Cambodian. So if you have like a 1.0, like, Cambodian, so like, no, they want high achieving Cambodians. So
It's not a joke.
yeah,
So.
It's not, like.
but it definitely
but
helps.
yeah.
And if you're any other, if you're like me, like I'm like 4 things, so I put all 4. And so they want like really diverse people, so if you're like, you know, Laotian, Cambodian, like put that all down.
Yeah,
There's
I am-
spaces for you to indicate every ethnicity.
Yeah, I'm also half and half, so I have to put that down.
How you guys choose your career?
So.
Well, yeah, I came into college pre-med wanting to be a doctor, and about halfway through freshman year, I just didn't want to be a doctor anymore. And I started, you know, looking at other majors. I think for like 3 months, every week I was a different major. I was just like, and you just like test it, like, hey, let's look at the jobs that I could do with this. Like, let's look at the classes I have to take. So, and I ended up settling on mechanical engineering just because it's a very, it's specific yet broad. So I can do a lot of things with it, but it's very geared towards like, you know, math and science. But at least Stanford-wise, you don't have to declare it till junior year, which I did. I declared like the last quarter possible. But some colleges you have to declare up front. So, yeah, I don't know. I think some colleges you can say you're undeclared. Maybe, but yeah, just
Yeah.
It's pretty hard for some colleges if you want to switch majors, so that's pretty unfortunate. But I know at Stanford it's like very common to go in undeclared. Personally, growing up, I feel like it's pretty common, like Asian families be like, oh, you should be a doctor, you should be a doctor, or like an engineer. But I remember thinking about that in high school. I was like, okay, I don't know, I'm good in these classes that like doctors end up taking, and like, but then I declared chemistry, or I said I was going in as a chemistry major, and then I got into Stanford, and then I took my first computer science class the first quarter. I didn't take chemistry until the end of my freshman year. And I found like, yeah, I definitely don't want chemistry anymore. So Stanford made it really easy to switch. So I found out like, oh, I was good in computer science, like it was fun. And then I took the next one, and it was like, oh, it's still cool. And I kept taking the next one until like I made a lot of progress in. And then I figured like, this is probably what I want to do then.
So at many colleges, you actually have to apply to humanities versus engineering, I think. So you have to choose. So generally, I think it's a lot easier to switch out of engineering to go into engineering. So if you are all like considering engineering, I would recommend that you apply to an engineering college.
I guess I just want to say that as like a high school student or like as a senior in high school, it's really difficult to like know what you really want to do for like the next like, I don't know, 40, 50 years of your life. So it's definitely okay if you don't know what you want to major in and what career you want to go into, but it definitely doesn't mean that you shouldn't like be thinking about it. You should definitely like explore different careers you might be interested in, things you enjoy, what you think you would like to be doing in the future. But definitely in college, I think you will probably have the option of changing majors. Whether it's easy or difficult depends on the college.
Yeah, and I would recommend trying to like try out a class. Say if like I was happy that I ended up like trying out computer science because I've never like I never did anything in that field. Like I didn't know anything about it before college, so I just tried it out, and then I turned out to like it, and that's what I ended up doing. So.
Yeah, I came into college being very hard STEM. I was like, I'm definitely going to do engineering, definitely going to do science. And right now I'm actually looking at double majoring. One of them is in the humanities. So you should definitely take courses that interest you, and you might find out like a new passion and stuff. That's like perfectly okay.
I have one question. Let me ask about the cost factor. Stanford is not only prestigious, but it's also one of the most expensive schools. Are you guys paying full tuition? I know that Keanu and Daniel, they have some Fulbright scholarship, right? How many of you pay full scholarship? I mean, full tuition?
So the thing is, even though it's very expensive, it gives very nice financial aid. So if you make actually family household less than $125,000, they'll actually pay your tuition for visas.
Like
That's the main
full
thing.
tuition.
Yeah.
You guys full tuition?
So-
At Stanford at least.
And then
You guys? Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that. I would say cost is not a limiting factor at all for Stanford.
Yeah, so what Amanda's talking about, Stanford has very generous financial aid because they have a very large endowment, which is the money that they get from various sources. So their financial aid policy is that I think around $65K annual income. If your family has less than that, then you're essentially given almost a full ride, regardless of whatever academics, whatever.
They changed it our year. So like our
Yeah, so 65.
no, it's 125.
No, that's for free tuition. But if you want
Oh,
housing and
yeah.
everything,
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
different.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's like 65,000 under, it's like basically it pays for tuition and housing. And then for under 125 or 125,000 to 65,000, they pay for your tuition through financial aid. And then above that,
it's a sliding
it's
scale.
other things.
Yeah.
But like I said, or like we've said, different schools have different like financial aid policies. Just because it's a private school and like the overall like price tag of like the cost of attendance looks like it's a lot, it might have very generous financial aid.
Yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum, like a public university, it could look very cheap, but they might not give you very much financial aid because they're getting that money from the government. So they overall, the amount that you'll end up paying, it might be even more than what you would pay for going to a private school. So that's why we encourage everyone to like look at both private and public schools, and depending on your situation, your financial situation, the scholarships you get, things like that, it'll depend which is like the cheapest option for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Stanford, they, like 60 to 70% of people get some sort of financial aid. I was looking at stats earlier, I don't remember what it was. And also another note is, there's when you're factoring cost of college, there's a lot of things. There's like room and board, tuition, food, books. So like, yeah, usually on the website, it divide, like for each college, when it says how much it costs, it divides it up. So you like are aware, like if they pay for full tuition, that's only a part of it.
Do you have to apply it every year, or is it once awarded, you get for the rest of the 4 years until you graduate?
So you have to reapply every year. There's the CSS profile and there's FAFSA. So I would encourage everyone, like even if you don't think that you need financial aid, to apply, because you never know. And then if you get like some money, it's like free money for your education. So
Yeah.
it's good.
it's very easy to reapply once you filled out
Yeah.
first.
So the first time it's kind of annoying.
Okay, I'm familiar with the FAFSA, but what is the CSS stand for?
CSS profile.
It's for private schools.
Oh, for private
Okay.
schools?
Yeah,
I
different.
know I had to do both, but
They're very similar.
I would say the
CSS
one easier.
profile is run through the College Board website. So it's the same company that does the AP testing
So
and
is that,
SAT.
you apply for both of them at one time, or is it either or?
No, it's both.
both.
Both. Oh,
In fact, the
Yeah.
CSS profile requires that you apply for the FAFSA.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the CSS is only done by some schools, so you should look that up before you, yeah.
So I know many of you might still have more questions. So we're going to transition from our panel into actually small groups. So maybe your high school students, you might be more comfortable talking to us in a small group setting instead of like around all your parents.